Okay. Shoot, I know I essentially wrote the questions and set the questions. I already forgot.
Girl, you better come
Uh,
on.
We're just
okay.
kicking it off.
Yeah, so um we have room to edit some of this.
Okay.
So don't
Yes.
worry. Okay,
Okay.
go. Three. I'm totally making this up as I go. Three, two, one. Welcome back to the We Got Notes podcast. Thank you for joining us. Season 2, episode 6. We decided to bring y'all something that some of you have been asking for. It's a series called How To. How to in the film and television industry. Sometimes it can be scary. So today we're going to talk about how to become a publicist, what a publicist does, what is public relations, what is PR. So in this series, in this new segment, we're going to bring you, in addition to talking about television and film and the stories we love, we're going to start talking about how to become a producer, how to become a writer, how to become someone that does wardrobe for a film or a TV show, how to become a grip. So all the behind the scenes how to stuff, we're going to start talking about that with you guys because some of y'all don't know and you want to know. So we're here to tell you because we got some people that we know. So I would like to introduce, well, oh, Shawn, you're here too. Shawn, say what up.
I'm not. That was a great introduction. I like to explain it this way because people always ask. They know what I've done for a career for a really long time. So people always come up to me and ask me, how can I get into the entertainment industry? How can I work in movies? How can I work in television? And you know what my answer always is? I'm like, you can do whatever you want to do because if you've ever stayed and watched the end of a movie, you see these things called end credits. And I tell people, every name you see is a job. And there are all kinds of different jobs. Like every name you see is a job. Like from the driver to the grip to the writer to the director to the hairstylist to the makeup artist, like they're all jobs. So whatever you have an interest in, you can translate it over into the entertainment industry.
Boom.
Anything, anything you want to do. So that's how I set it up. So that's why I'm glad we have Brittany here to talk about how to become a publicist because publicists are such a vital part of what Fahnia and I do because they are like the gateway to us in content. 1000%. But I'll let Brittany,
Yes.
I'll let Brittany explain. We'll
If you
start
don't
first
know
with
a
the
public,
basics and then we're gonna jump in because I got some questions.
okay, so let's give her a proper introduction. This is the
Yes,
Brittany Rodgers. She has been
yes,
a publicist for many, many, many years. Put some
yes.
respect on her name. So welcome in, Brittany.
Yay. Hey guys.
How
Hi.
are you? Doing it big, doing it big. And I will say, I love your IG page.
Oh, thanks. I don't really
And
do too
and,
much
and
on it.
at the end of the show, I want to get some moisturizer techniques because you be popping in all your photos.
Water, drink your water. I tell people,
Okay.
drink your water.
That's that black girl magic. So for Brittany, for those that don't know, run down your resume.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a very interesting journey, but I will start with my PR journey. So I kind of fell into PR. So, like you said, Shawn, anybody can do, what you want to do. So I kind of fell into it because when I moved to LA in 2015, I worked for a court show. I was an associate producer, and that's when I realized like maybe behind the scenes is not for me. And then at that time, I knew like I went to school for broadcast journalism, so I knew that my skills were transferable. Some way, somehow, I worked at a news station and I would be the person receiving the press releases. So I was like, well, I can do this, like, why not? So I apply for a job in LA because I don't know if entertainment careers is still a thing out here, but like way back when entertainment careers was when like everyone would go there to find a job. And I remember the job said confidential. They work with A-list celebrities. And I was like, great, why not? It was an agency. And so I got the job. I went and I got the job. Of course, it was like a publicity assistant. So to honestly to be, to get into PR, like really start off as a publicity assistant, because that's when you really get your feet wet. And I got my feet wet immediately. I worked in it was a talent agency at the time, and I worked with A-list celebrities, and it was
Is everybody frozen? Shawn, Brittany. Hello.
You there?
I'm here.
I'm here. Did she
Brittany,
freeze? She froze, I think.
she froze.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We'll
Just
go
pick up. You were talking about your journey. You stopped where you were talking about your journey where you got in the job and you said you were, in fact, working with A-list celebrity.
She paused again. Hello.
specific targeting, marketing, and press. And so I started off as a junior publicist, and then I that's where I met Fahnia. That's when I was really young and green, and we worked with every studio you can think of: Fox, Sony, Paramount, Disney, you name it, NBC. We worked with everyone, but we specifically worked with African American press and specifically with African American actors or actresses, producers, writers, you name it. So I worked my way up at Moxie. I was a junior publicist. I was a publicist, and then I ended as a senior publicist, and then that's when I went in house, which is everyone's dream. You know, when they're in an agency, they want to go in house, and so I finally like got in house, and I went over to NBC. Right, like it was 2 weeks before COVID hit. So my NBC journey started off at home. And at NBC, I was on the cable side, and I specifically worked on Bravo, Oxygen, and E. So I was across their lifestyle channels, that's what they called it at the time. And I was their only hybrid person. So it was cool to work across unscripted, crime, and just other unscripted shows. So I looked at it as a journey of leaving agency, working specifically with African American press, to now going in house and really learning like more of the general press, or, just like working in unscripted, because that was very different for me. Unscripted is totally different than scripted. And I always tell people that when they're like, "Oh, I want to work on a reality show." Okay, you really learn. So I worked on the cable side for maybe a year and a half, and then I went over to Peacock. Peacock was new, and I was like, you know what? Why not? It's a streamer, and it was very green and very new. Like there were no processes. Like we were just making fetch happen, but it stuck, and like we really got people to, come to Peacock. So I was there like towards the middle
Shawn, Brittany.
group where I specifically work across multicultural for our scripted, unscripted, and animation shows. So that's
Hey,
my journey.
come on. That is a resume. You've been
Impressive.
putting in the work.
That's
Yes, I
impressive.
have.
But but I do want to ask you that as impressive as your resume is, which without question, you did mention a couple of things that I'm curious about. You mentioned that like, part of your career you spent, only working with African American talent and only working with African American press. What were your thoughts on that at the time? Because it sounds like a form of segregation.
hmm at the time, it was different for me. It really was different, because I didn't know that existed. And when I was at Allied, we had Contigo, which specifically only worked with, Hispanic, Latinx outlets. And then we also had our Pride team that only worked with Pride outlets or, members or different organizations. And on one end, I really appreciate it because back then, that's when these studios were like, oh, you have this press that can do these cool things and this cool content. But back then, it did feel like a little segregation because, that's when we had to fight to get press to be placed on a carpet, in the beginning versus like putting all the AA press at the end of the carpet, or like really having to go into the studios and tell them, like, oh, this is what this outlet does, and these are the UMVs that they have, and this is the, amount of followers that they have. So at the time it was interesting, but I also really enjoyed it because I mean, I'm black, and it was just like I want to root
Hey,
for my people, and
No, right.
to see us like really do the coolest things outside of working with like a mainstream outlet at that time, and really having these outlets that no one knew of, like just create this cool content or like get a cover story that no one else could probably capture, so just really depends.
Okay, so we talked about how to become a publicist. We talked about how you became a publicist. So we're very experienced in this, but there's a lot of people that don't know what a publicist is. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Like, I'm always like, you're the liaison between the public and the person.
Yeah, pretty much. You're the middle person. You're the middleman. A publicist can do a lot. They control your image, whether that is for an individual person, it can be for an organization, it can be for a company. You have publicists for pretty much everything, but they're not your manager. So you always have to make sure people understand what your manager does and what your publicist does. Your publicist is there to help shape and maintain, this image or whatever you want to put out there to the world, or if it's a local, your publicist can help you get local press, national press. Sometimes your publicist does help you organize events. Like, let's say you're an author and you have a publicist. That publicist might help you organize this event, get some press there, really get the coverage that you want. Your publicist can also be there for crisis management. We all have been there, when something goes crazy, we got to go into crisis management mode.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say most people equate being a publicist to Olivia Pope.
no, I mean, it can be because, when I worked on the unscripted side, I felt like there was every time I looked up, it was something crisis happening, because these are real people. They are really putting their lives out there. And so it'd be like, oh my God, such and such did this. We got it, like you go into crisis mode. And I really noticed that when I went on the unscripted side versus, scripted, like
Wow.
TV and film. It's like, okay, but unscripted is a whole different ball game. So, a publicist is someone that helps you get the press coverage and, just they're there, they are that liaison for you with the media and really helping you shape your brand or put your television show out there and just get the eyes on it.
At what point would an actor or creator need to, if at all, say like, hey, I need a publicist?
That's a great question. I get asked that all the time. That's a great question.
And same, and I always tell people, listen, you got to make sure you have something to put out there, and it's very true. Like if you have some type of breakout role, or like if you're a content creator, and you like got this really big video that let's say got 2.5 million views. Okay, you should act on that. Maybe that's when you want to get a publicist that can like probably push that out there for some people. When you're looking to, you want to build your brand, but also I always tell people publicity is expensive, especially if you go through someone that is on their own, or even if they're with an agency, it is expensive and they can't always guarantee coverage. So you want to be very strategic on when you want to get a publicist and make sure you have something to feed the people and you can get something in return.
Well, I want to ask you this then. In this world of digital media, in this world where everyone's a content creator, in this world where everybody thinks they can do everything on their own, how has this impacted you as a professional publicist? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people out in the space that think they can be their own publicist now.
Yeah, and listen, you probably can. And I don't want to fight you on it, I don't want to tussle, but also you got to have the contacts because that's the major thing is having the contacts and the relationships, like relationship building is major. So you can be the content creator and you can slide in this editor's DM. That doesn't mean they're going to respond. I know so many people who are like, oh, I have this folder that says like, requests. They don't even read it, So it's just, it depends. Like, and I really do, I strongly believe in, your relationships with people. It has worked for me throughout all these years, because like I said, you can reach out to someone at the Hollywood Reporter. That does not mean they're going to respond to you. You can try to reach out to Fahnia. That does not mean Fahnia is going to respond to you.
I try. I promise I try.
So, I don't, it just depends. And I also think it depends on the editor. And especially now, we have like Gen Zers that are coming in and they might like something before, I pitch something to them. I think it also just depends on like what I'm feeding them, what can we give each other in return?
Yeah, I just asked you that because I noticed in my own, professional inbox, I'm starting to get more and more requests direct from the filmmaker, direct
Yeah.
from the actor, direct from the producer, where before it used to be straight from agencies, but you're getting more and more direct emails from people.
But I think it works hand in hand too, because even if they're being direct to you, they still got to come back and let us know. Even if, if there's like, let's just
And I
say,
have experienced that. I have
yeah.
experienced that.
And I dealt with it a lot. Like I remember I was working with talent and he booked his own cover for something. And it was so funny. And I was like, good for you, but it still has to come back to me because you're not gonna logistically do all of this. You get what I'm saying? So like when it comes to the logistic parts, they still gonna go back to the team.
We've mentioned it a couple of times. I just want to give knowledge to people that don't know when we say certain things. What is agency when we say like agency versus studio?
Yeah, so an agency is more you're not in-house, you work the client is mostly your the studio or the network. So you guys work together. Agency is the middle person, just like a publicist. They are the middle person because they're working with the media that they work directly with, and then they're reporting into the studio or the network. And then when you're in-house, you're either at a studio or a network, and that's when you are working very closely with the creators, the showrunners. You have a little bit more access to the talent. Like you have that direct contact with them versus the agency. They have to submit requests and, kind of go through that pathway. That makes sense.
It
No,
makes
but
sense.
totally makes sense to me. How many approximately? I'm not asking you to know the answer, but approximately how many Black PR agencies are there?
Oh, I don't know, but there are more than what it used to be. I will say
Okay,
that.
okay.
I will say that, and whether that is people working individually by themselves, their own company, or like a full boutique agency, but there are way more than what they were before.
Okay, bravo. Good, good.
So hearing that, how important? I mean, does it really even matter at all if you should have if you're in the multicultural urban background umbrella? Does it matter whether or not you have an urban person or multicultural person represent you?
I say it depends because you have some publicists that literally like they know these editors, they know what their client wants, they know the culture in a way. They're like, okay, I'm down, I get it, but then you have some publicists that are so like it's just like, hello, like, do you know who you're working with, um and then you like, but they know specific people. I wouldn't say they know like the deep editors, like, some of those outlets that people are very unfamiliar with, they might not know. So I say like in the multicultural space, like it's funny because I don't really work with a lot of Black publicists for talent wise. If I do, they're your long lasting people, have that been holding that talent down for a very long time, but also their talent is pitchable. It's that talent that we love that's been in the business for years, but then I do work with individuals that are not Black, and sometimes I have to push them, but that's why you have us sitting in these rooms because we can be the ones to be like, hey, but what about this outlet, like they've done this. So it works hand in hand in a way, but we need more of us and at the table to really help, push that through.
You said something that kind of triggered a thought for me. What makes a person pitchable and also unpitchable?
Oh, that's so tough because like,
Listen up, millennials, or listen
But it's
up,
an important.
young
That's
kids.
an important. That's an important question because it is such a catch-22. Because like if you're a young actor, you need a publicist. But what are the chances that a young unknown actor that's not in a major project going to get covered? I mean, that's
yeah. But that's when you have to talk to someone that is very honest with you. And I really try to be honest with people. I've had tons of people try to come to me and be like, oh, can we work together? I don't want to take your money and I get nothing for you, because like I always tell people you can hire a publicist, but that does not mean that they can get press for you,
right.
So, but again, it goes back to your relationships because you might have Sarah at whatever outlet that you're like, please, girl, I need you to do me this solid. And that, we'll do it, and it comes with relationships, but also some people are pitchable, it might be the followers that they have, the content that they're putting out there. If they're not pitchable, it's like, okay, you might got to do a little work. Just because you got 5,000 followers doesn't mean, people are looking. You might be in this YouTube series, but you don't have that many roles, like, so you got to really be honest. Like, I think just being honest and not hurting the person's feelings and just letting them know, like, not right now might not be your time, but let's keep working if they're
So
not.
what you're saying is it's the equation is honesty plus a little bit of patience.
Yes, very much so.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because, like you said, there really are no guarantees. But with that said, during the span of your career, what are your thoughts on the expansion of media and all these different platforms? And has that growth benefited Black people?
I will say, like, the expansion of it, it's the more the merrier. You get what I'm saying? And it's also just like making sure you are equipped and you know how to use these things. Like, I read something that said AI won't take your job, but AI will take your job if you don't understand AI. So it's one of those where it's like, we got to just stay up. Like, I remember when I was in college and we were that generation. I was like, okay, you guys are going to do this, you're going to do that. And to see everything that has happened and like, I'm still trying to keep up. Like, I always tell people, I'm on every social platform you can think of, everyone. And because I need to know, I love talking to my coordinators. They keep me young and fresh. So I think it's just one of those where you got to just stay up. I think it has helped Black people in a way because we have so many avenues. Now we don't only have to post on Instagram. Like, if we want to take our talent over to TikTok, we totally can. But then we can share that video with all our platforms because they have this option. So it's just making more eyes put on us.
Okay. I love it. Love
Hey,
it. Love it.
hey. Okay, so we are at 20 minutes.
Okay.
Um, is there anything we forgot or didn't mention or anything else you want to share to these people that need to know and about publicity, being a publicist, how to become one, anything under that scope?
The only other thing like I would say to people, because I have people ask me and I'm like, internships, and don't be afraid of entry level jobs. Like, I know it might suck. Like, I remember when I moved to LA, I thought I was old. Like, I thought I was like an old coordinator because at that time I was like 26. And I was like, oh my God, I am like the oldest coordinator. So don't let that affect you. Because when I look up 10 years later, I'm like, okay, look at my career trajectory. So internships, get a mentor if you can, or if you don't, some people are like, I don't want a mentor. Just talk to people, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts. All that stuff is out there for you now. Like you said, like these different media platforms have opened up for us. YouTube University is your best friend. Study people. So yeah, that's it pretty
I
much.
love it. Well, here's the most important question of this whole entire interview. Have you seen Sinners? If you have, what are your thoughts?
I seen Sinners. I loved it. It was great. And then, like, I mean, it's a Warner Brothers film, so shout out to the team. I thought it was great. Honestly, Michael B. Jordan, to see him play these two different people was great. One, I love Ryan Coogler. I like it just looked beautiful. Like, everything was great. I think the whole time my mouth was just like, like, am I really watching this? I wanted to see it at the theater, like in Santa Monica somewhere here, to see it in that, what is it, 70
70
something?
millimeter, baby.
Yeah, but I
I'm at
didn't get
70
a
millimeter.
chance.
That's
I
what I
didn't,
love about Sinners. Sinners
uh,
has Black folks talk about aspect ratios.
right.
There
I'm like
ain't
70
never been no
something.
there ain't never been no movie in the history of movies where Black folks was like, nah, man, I can't go
Yeah,
to the regular AMC. I got to go see
no,
it at 70 millimeter in the wide frame
yes.
aspect on the IMAX screen.
No, seriously. And the amount of people I know that have seen it more than 5 times is crazy. Like, we are locked in, but I love it. I love this for us. I love it for Michael B. Jordan. I love it for Ryan Coogler. Another win for him.
Oh,
Nah,
wait,
he
you
always
mentioned
doing it.
Warner Brothers. So also, what are you working on? What are you currently working on? And what have been like your top 3 to 5 films or TV series that you've worked on in the past that you were like, hey,
Well, so because I'm on the TV side. I work only on TV now because Fahnia, my like past life. um, because I worked on so much, but I work across pretty much everything. So like I just wrapped up All American. So I was working with the showrunner in Catchy or Cora Carroll. Like, I absolutely adore her. So All American. I was also working with the team for Jennifer Hudson show. So that was exciting. I
Yo,
worked.
props to that. Her show was always solid to me, but the way they promoted on social media with the dancing down the hallway.
Yeah.
Yo, that's a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps giving.
Seriously. It's such a, I love it so much. I've been in a few of the spirit tunnels, but
Oh, that's what it's officially called. I didn't know that. So it's called a
so
spirit tunnel.
fun. It's so much fun. I love it so much. So that was a fun show to work on. To work on a talk show, that's another, something I can add on, add on. So what else? I worked on a show last year called Emperor of Ocean Park, which was very, very important to me. I loved it so much because it was about a black family, a rich black
Great show.
family. Yeah, a great show with Forrest Whitaker.
Underappreciated show.
Yeah. I also worked on The Big Cigar with Janine Sherman Bourgeois, which was great to work
Oh,
with
damn,
her.
you're working on all the underappreciated great stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Man.
great and thankful to work on these type of projects. And like at Peacock, I worked on Bel Air, The Amber Ruffin Show, The Best Man Final Chapters. It was a lot over there. I worked on so much, and I have so many shows or films that I worked on that like I hold a special place in my heart.
No,
Not
I
We
just
need
like
to
that you
bring
worked on all these dope shows. We're gonna have to put you in the Black Movie Hall of Fame, the publicist in it.
I worked on a lot of stuff. I've been doing this for a long time. It's crazy to think about it because I just celebrated 10 years in LA. And I was like, wow, I've really been doing this for a
You're doing
while.
your thing, though. You really are. It makes me proud, especially as a journalist. I love seeing us succeed in different facets. So congrats
Yeah,
to you.
thank
Kudos. But
you.
those shows you worked on are just whoo,
Yeah,
man, those are
great shows.
great
Check
shows.
them out.
Yeah, we
My,
need Amber Ruffin to come back.
I know. I
I
love
know we need
her.
that back. Amber is so dope.
We need her
Amber
So dope.
commentary right now with what's going on in the
is
world.
so
We
dope.
need the relief. We need the like
Yes, we
the
need her
Yeah,
back.
laugh, the
she's
We're,
so
deceit,
we
the
great.
know
realness.
we know
She's
you got her
Amber
number in
Ruffin.
your contacts. Let's call her.
I know. I haven't seen
We
her in a
need
while,
you.
but
We need
I
you.
when I see her on social, I follow her, and I'm always like, I'm Team Amber. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, hold on. We don't do a close. All right, yeah.
No, this is great though. No, Brittany, thank